What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to From the Top Rope with Andrew Crawford. I'm your boy Andrew Crawford. Welcome back to the channel, and as promised, my season rankings of what is my second favorite show of all time, The Vampire Diaries. Or favorite show. I'm going to discover that by the end of this video, hopefully. And now, as I've said, I've not said this. I'm not ranking the originals or legacies in with this. I'm just ranking the Vampire Diaries, just so it's kind of more even, because if I went Vampire Diaries, originals and legacies, that's like 18 years competing against 9, which is literally double, and that's not fair. So without further ado, let's rank some Vampire Diaries. Number 8, Season 7. I really appreciated Season 7 for trying something new with introducing the heretics in the finale of 6, basically killing off Elena for the next 2 seasons. But it's also a thing of it's the same thing with One Tree Hill. It took me a minute to get used to a core character not being there. And that is the only bad thing for me about Season 7. I love the heretics. I love the Huntress. I love just the psychotic rage that Damon enters over losing Elena. I love everything that happens throughout the course of the show, throughout the season. But like I said with One Tree Hill, it took me a minute to get used to a certain character that was so detrimental to the show's initial success not being there. I still love the season and the show as a whole, but this season was super weird, and sometimes it fell flat for me in places. Number 7, Season 3. The only thing of note that really sticks out for me in Season 3 is Elena dies and later becomes a vampire, and Elena chose Stefan after cheating on Stefan with Damon. Come on now. Like, again, as the entire show, I love it so much, but I also am a big fan of notable moments, and Season 3 just feels like it lacks notable moments sometimes. I enjoy the season thoroughly. You get a deeper dive into Klaus, the original family. You get a deeper dive. You get a beautiful ballroom dancing scene to Ed Sheeran's "Give Me Love" with the entire cast basically, and Alaric gets turned into a super vampire. All of it's really fun, but I just think that the way every other season works and is done works better. 6, Season 8. Now we're getting into the territory of any of these could be number 1 after this entry. But Seasons 7, 8, and 3 could not be number 1. Any of these could be switched around and I could call it the worst season, but calling something in this universe the worst of something is not insulting it. Like, all of it's still really good. But for Season 8, literally the sirens are the biggest downfall that season had. If they would have found a better villain or introduced Cade off rip, Cade was literally portraying the actual devil, I think it would have been more fun. Because this season was full of the heartbreak that I love about certain shows. Like when Stefan kills Enzo and it drives Bonnie into giving Stefan the cure. Stefan sacrificing himself for his own flesh and blood for the brother that promised him an eternity of misery. Just everything in Season 8 has so many heartbreaking moments, but at the same time so many happy moments. But, again, the sirens drive me crazy, and honestly, I thought about putting this at the bottom, but at least they kind of figured out how to operate without the usage of Elena, which was a big downfall for season 7. I probably could put it above season. I could probably put it below season 3. I don't know. Anyways, next, number 5, season 5. I absolutely adore season 5. I thought it was so much fun, and again, I could have ranked it so much higher, but it has a downfall, and that being from like episode 16 and on, they're all in on the Travelers that we've barely learned anything about, and it sucks. The concept of the Travelers are cool because according to the lore of the show, they use all natural magic, and the witches use like not natural magic, and they want to end witch magic. And again, I love the concept. I really, really, really do. But I feel like it was executed kind of poorly. The spell that took the magic out of Mystic Falls was cool though. And honestly, that finale was was probably the second most heartbreaking finale of the entire show. But again, the way that the Travelers were executed, I think, could have been done better. Like if you would have introduced them in episode 1 and then let it build, and then from episode 16 to the finale, let it be like how important the Travelers are, would have made so much more sense. But literally, the Travelers got introduced like episode 13, and they went all in on them from there out. And it was, again, the show's fire. I love it. The season's amazing, but the Travelers really take it down a peg for me. Number 4, I've decided to go with season 6. Season 6 is a very fun season. You get accustomed to having Alaric back. Tyler gets accustomed to not being a hybrid anymore. You get more deep. You go more in depth in Liv's life. You meet more of her siblings, Joe and Kai. You meet the third best villain in a show whose rogues gallery of villains is absurdly good. You meet Kai. Kai Parker is the third best villain in this show, and he might honestly be one of my personal favorite villains ever. Because he's an emotionless sociopath. And honestly, Kai is what took season 6 from being like, to skyrocketed up in placement for me. Because there are storylines in season 6. I don't like the fact that Elena compelled Mr. Salt Alaric to make her forget about Damon. That made me beyond livid. Like, I was genuinely mad at that because I'm like, okay, I get it, your heart broke. But, what happens when you find out he's not dead? Oh, wait, we found out because the entirety of, like, the beginning of season 6, Damon and Bonnie are trapped in a prison world. And that's where we meet Kai. They get out. So Damon spends the majority of season 6 trying to make Elena remember. And then Alaric loses his vampirism, and then the compulsion is undone, and so she does. But again, that storyline is what brings it down for me from my personal ranking being at number 3. Season 2. Season 2 is where we meet my favorite character in the show. We meet Klaus Michelson, the greatest villain in the history of villains. This man and his family are the original family of vampires. Every other vampire bloodline descends from them. Klaus, Elijah, Rebecca, Cole, Finn's there too. All of them have such an important part to play throughout the course of the entire universe, and this is where we meet them. And Klaus wants to kill Elena so that he can unlock his hybrid side, because it required a very in-depth spell because his mother spelled out the werewolf side of it. And once Klaus unlocks its hybrid side, we're cooking. It's awesome. I love Klaus. Klaus is the best character, and one specific Klaus moment is the reason my number one entry is my number one entry. Season 1. This, as opposed to One Tree Hill, which, if you remember, I ranked Season 1 very low, was almost the perfect opening season. Because right out of the gates, we introduce Elena, who is writing in her diary, the Vampire Diaries. We meet Stefan, and we learn that this 171 episode journey is going into the life of the 171-year-old vampire, which is why when Stefan dies, the show ends. It was, again, but it was still a really fun show. Really fun season. You know, you meet Jeremy, who's still shook up from his parents' death to the fact that he's the school drug dealer, let's be honest. You meet some really good reoccurring characters that I think died too soon. You meet Anna, who I thought was really cool and really hot. But, Anna was really good for, like, her appearances. At first, she was using Jeremy to get something. That turned into a real emotional connection. She does come back in Season 3 for a little while. Literally, like, 3 episodes where she's a ghost and Jeremy can see her, and it's really weird. But Season 1 is a season that I really appreciate. And like I said, it is almost the perfect opening season because it introduces you to these characters that you're going to have to build a connection to for the next 7 seasons after it. And it does really well at that. It made me care about all these characters, and I genuinely hated watching them die until Bonnie was back alive the next episode. Jeremy might have been the only character that ever stayed dead for any length of time. But no, it was a very good show, and very good season. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Number 1, Season 4. I am a sucker for Season 4 of shows, apparently, because just like One Tree Hill, the 4th season of the Vampire Diaries, the best. You get to see Elena adapt to being a vampire, which she actually does really well at first. You see Damon and Elena's relationship blossom from the sire bond into something more. At first, my voice cracked bad. You know, Caroline and Tyler have a thing. Damon, I think, gets bit by a werewolf, and Caroline is calling Klaus in the finale, and this is why it's my favorite Klaus moment. But, like, I think these witches get the veil drops from the other side. These witches are going to make Caroline mad because of a slaughter that occurred. That was kind of her fault. And then Klaus takes a graduation cap, yeets it, cuts off a witch's head, and it is my favorite moment in the entire show. I loved watching it. You know, you also actually watch the series premiere of the originals. You have all these awesome moments for Klaus as a whole. And you have maybe the most romantic thing that the Heartless Hybrid ever said. Klaus literally looks at Caroline and says, "He's your first love. I intend to be your last, no matter how long it takes." I said, bro, what a simp. But to be fair, it is Caroline, so I understand. But you get an even better Klaus moment when he slaughters 12 hybrids. Doesn't even flinch doing it. He just kind of rips hearts out, cuts heads off, does what Klaus does. And then shortly after that, killed Tyler's mom. Very, in the meanest... Klaus is Klaus. Klaus is the strongest creature in the lore up to this point. He could have easily killed Tyler's mom by ripping her heart out, snapping her neck, ripping her head off. He drowned her with Christmas carols in the background. I think it was like Joy to the World in the background, while Klaus is out here just burying, killing Tyler's mother. And it was one of the coldest, most heartless moments of the show, and I loved it.